What's up, and welcome to the No Bullshit Manifestation Show. I'm your host, Kat Kozad, manifestation expert, money mindset and fulfillment coach, and multiple six-figure entrepreneur. Come sit with me while I spill the real tea on what it's like to practice using intentional manifestation, demystify all of the woo-woo and confusing bullshit that comes along with creating the life of your dreams, and give you a realistic view of what it's like to be on a personal, spiritual, and professional growth journey. The goal of this podcast is to support and guide you towards manifesting all of your dreams, shed light on the things that people are too scared to talk about, and encourage you to become the person who gets to have it all, be it all, and do it all. I am so happy you are here. Let's fucking do this thing. What's up, loves? Oh my goodness, welcome back to the No Bullshit Manifestation Show. I have such an awesome episode for you today. And before we get into it, just a few updates for anybody and everybody who is listening. There is a giveaway that I am putting on right now. If you're not following me on Instagram or Facebook, this giveaway is open until November 1st, and it is to win a $100 gift card for Amazon. And the way that you enter this giveaway is by leaving a review for the podcast on iTunes and then sending me a screenshot of your review on Instagram at Kat Kozad. You'll find that in the show notes down below as well. Just to give back to all of you who have been listening to the podcast and supporting the show. I thought this was a fun way to do that, this little giveaway, because I have had so much incredible feedback, comments, just conversations with all of you on Instagram and Facebook about the podcast, and I am so grateful. It is so fun to be able to put this podcast together for you, and I want to give back and show you some love. So once again, for anybody who is listening, if you haven't entered the giveaway, what you do to enter is leave a review for me on iTunes and then send me a screenshot of your review on Instagram at Kat Kozad. You'll also find that in the show notes down below. And I will enter you in the giveaway, and the winner will be announced on the podcast episode that is getting aired on November 7th. So there's that. A few life updates. Just got back from a trip to Denver. Got to see my mom and some of my friends and the beautiful fall colors and weather. It was so wild being back in Denver after living in New York for the past 9 weeks. It was just honestly funny to remember how easily I fall back into things there and love the pace and the rhythm of life there, as well as loving the pace and the rhythm of life here in New York City. But just being back there was super interesting to continue to expand my awareness of the fact of what felt so normal to me in the past felt a little foreign, and there were so many new experiences that I had on this trip that I hadn't had in 5 years of living there, which was just so beautiful to see and very eye-opening to the fact that we can create adventure and new opportunities and new joy for ourselves in the environment that we have been in at any time. And that when you think you've run out of every single possibility, every single opportunity, adventure, whatnot in your current circumstances, you have the power to continue to create more for yourself and really allowing yourself to get curious and follow what feels inspired for you to do that is out of the norm, and allowing yourself to get out of your routine, your norm, your comfort zone, whatever you want to call it. There's so much wonder to be found in that. So that was super fun. And for today's podcast episode, this is such an incredible episode. I was so honored to be able to bring on this week's guest onto the podcast, Mr. Alan Howard. And Alan has the most incredible story. We'll go into it in the podcast episode. But Alan is a coach for men, helping them find and follow their passionate work, as well as lead from the heart, and really starting to demystify what it means to lead from the heart. Oftentimes in our Western culture, we believe that everything is career related and everything is like for finding what it is that's going to bring that income in. And yes, that is part of the equation, but Alan and I were able to go deep into other aspects of the heart's desires and what it means and how to get to those heart desires in the first place. And for everyone listening, ladies and men, ladies, if you have men in your life that are right at this place where they're starting to want to follow their heart's desires or get more in tune with what it is that they want for themselves versus what it is that they think that they need to create because they are a man, you will want to share this episode with them and send them Alan's way, because this work is so, so powerful. The work that he does, the way that he is able to really help others look into themselves and get to know themselves and love themselves so that their heart's desires are loud and proud and clear and there. And that makes this flow and this rhythm of following your passion, your heart, so much easier. In a world that makes it kind of challenging to follow your heart, Alan makes it super freaking easy. So Alan has, like I said, the most incredible story. I will let him share it on the podcast episode. But for anybody who is interested, all of his links are down below. And without further ado, here is my conversation with Alan. Alrighty, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the No Bullshit Manifestation Show. Today, I have the incredible Alan Howard on the show. Alan and I got connected through Mr. Kian Loggy, who is episode 4. So anybody who's listening who hasn't listened to Kian's episode, go back and listen to it. I know he's been an impactful part of both of our lives, and I'm so grateful he was able to connect us. So Alan, thank you for coming on to the show.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. I'm stoked to be here. If they haven't watched episode 4, go back and watch it. Probably your best guest to date. I can say that, but yeah, I'm stoked to be here. Thanks, Kat.
Amazing. Yay, cool. So I know quite a bit about your story, and it is incredibly powerful. And I would love for you to share your story, what has led you to who you are and where you are today, to kick this off.
Cool. Yeah. Thank you so much. I'm glad to do it. And I think one of the things that, you and I just briefly mentioned a little bit before the calls, like touching on our heart's desires. And I think my journey and a lot of people's journeys when they're following their heart is you're oftentimes doing some things that are a little bit different or a little bit crazy, and really owning that. And so kind of where I want to start my journey, when I was 24, 25 years old, I was working an office job in California, never got good grades in university, kind of just like figuring out my way. And for me, my win, like my ultimate win in life was just to get like an office job and have a secure salary and like get that. And so I finally had that. But 2 years after that, I was really craving being out in the world. I was 24, 25, 26 at this time. And like, I really wanted to be doing something different. And that became kind of like the first time I took a step into or out of the matrix is understanding, hey, I want to do something different. I want to go see the world. I want to explore. I feel like I'm not content here. I'm not happy here. And so long story short, I eventually convinced my company to let me move to Europe. I worked remote. An ayahuasca journey later, I decided to quit my job, start traveling the world. And about a year and a half after quitting my job, I found myself living in the middle of the Amazon jungle with an indigenous tribe, which kind of kicked off my next journey to building my business. And so it's been a super fun roller coaster, but the core of it the whole time has been that one thing, following my heart, following what I've wanted to do. And not listening to what society's telling me, or not listening to what people are saying is the right move for me, but really following me.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So powerful, because I definitely know from my own experience and all of the women that I coach is that that's hard to get to that place of
Yeah.
actually following your heart, or even understanding what your heart wants in the first place, because we really are crafted and shaped into these almost robots of
Yep.
follow this path, do this thing, get to this level, and you should be happy once you get to that place. Just like you said, it's like the goal was to have the corporate job, the stability, the salary, the benefits, I can
Yeah.
imagine.
Yeah.
And getting to that place and not enjoying it, not liking it, and making that transition is super scary. So tell me, like, once you were in that place of feeling unfulfilled,
Yeah.
how did you start to take steps towards finding something that was the next step, that maybe
Yeah.
wasn't like the ultimate goal, but was the next step in getting closer to your heart's desire?
Great question. So one of the things that I've really noticed in my journey, and I feel like I've done this a couple times, like gotten to a place of, oh, I'm not feeling this anymore. Let me branch out again. And the biggest thing is really understanding and trusting what you want to do. And for so long it was, it was kind of beating myself up, like, I got this amazing job, I'm living in London, I have this beautiful girlfriend, I'm living in a penthouse, the actor who played James Bond lived on my same street. I'm like, I'm 27, this is the peak of life, why am I not happy? And for a while, for about a year and a half of this time, I was sitting in this place of saying, there's something wrong with me. Right? Why am I not fulfilled with this? Why am I not happy with this? Why am I craving going out and seeing the world? I'm just this type of person. I'm never content. I'm this, I'm that. And so there's a lot of like self pressure. I won't say hatred, that's too strong of a word, but like a little self abuse there. And so what I realized through the journey is that I'm actually right. What I want to do is right. And it's only right because it's what I feel. And so when we get into the heart center and we start to follow the heart, it's that. And too much of the time for us people, we feel that, but then we try and make the jump safe. We try and find like, where's the opportunity for us to somehow, am I sure my feeling's right? And so I think for most people, they know, but they're just terrified. They're really scared to step out into that. And it's really scary too, because if you step out into the thing your heart desires and it fails, who are you? What's your identity? So I don't know if that answered it, but I'll toss it back over to you for now.
Yeah, it does. Woof. Damn, that's powerful. And you're so right. Really fucking scary for a lot of people. I can say that for myself. That was one of the things that I've actually experienced this year was, okay, I'm no longer depending on the validation of the luxury, the money, the external things that I thought was going to bring me the level of fulfillment that it didn't, but I thought it was going to. And how do I actually tap back into this place of trusting myself and understanding what I want, and asking that same question, or that same piece of self-abuse of what you said of like, what's wrong with me? Like, this just has to be a me thing. Like, what the fuck is happening? So for you and what you just said of coming to this place of, I want what I want because I want it. Like, my heart's desires are there because they're there. I don't need to justify that. I don't need to create this story around why I can have it or why I should follow it. What was that journey like, getting to that place of understanding that like you didn't have to validate what you were doing?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because I can look back on it now and realize that. But when I was in the heat of the moment, when I was in the battle, like I couldn't, I was weighing, I was writing lists. Should I do this? Should I do that? Should I stay in this amazing job? And it was hard because I'm feeling this every day, and I'm calling I called my parents and they said, stay in the job. I called my older brother, who I really respect. And I grew up from a family that had a lot of love, but never money. Mm-hmm. And so my brother was the first person who had money in our family. And he's like, don't leave the job. You have a great job. Stay there. And it's just like, this back and forth. Right. But at the end of the day, I think the way our heart leads us, or the way the universe leads us, is it's small little movements. It's the feather, it's the brick, or it's the Mack truck. And this is something that I always feel in my life. Like, you're moved by a feather. It's those feelings of like, oh, I'm interested in this. I don't know why, but this keeps coming up for me, this repeated thought to do this thing. And you don't listen to it. And then eventually you get hit by a brick. And the brick is like, oh, your job gets worse. Or, someone dumps you, or like things start to go wrong. And that's because life is trying to help you go down the right path for you, the path that is actually going to bring you the most happiness and joy and incredible life. And that's at least something I believe, is life's working for us and not against us. And so as we don't continue to listen to those signs, we eventually get hit by the Mack truck. And the Mack truck is like, I'm in the hospital, I broke an arm, or I'm sick. And so I got to the point of, there was bricks. My job was getting worse, even though it was a really great job. And then the Mack truck for me was, I was having so much stress in my job that there was one night where my heart was hurting so bad. And this was at like 27. And I was so stressed that I couldn't sleep that night. And I was losing feeling in my left arm. And it was like all this pressure, because all of my life I had been stupid. I hadn't been intelligent. And this was a job that I had where I was very intelligent in the job. I was making $150,000 a year, around that. And I'm 27. And, this is years back. So it was a lot more money at that time too. And I'm like, why can't I just be happy here? And it was that realization in that night of like, I don't give a fuck what this is. I got to get out, because if I don't get out, something really bad's going to happen to me. And so it really allowed me to do it. And my advice to people is, don't wait until that point. Go sooner. Feel the feather or feel the pain of the bricks, but don't wait to the Mack truck, because that's when it gets really bad.
Absolutely. Oh, that's such a good way to put it. And definitely a piece of advice that I share with the people that I coach as well, and the people in my life, is like, you don't have to hit your rock bottom to create transformation. I think there's a lot of shit out there that's always like, the only way you're going to create change is like by hitting that darkest place. And it's like, no, you're listening to this right now and you're like, wow, I have heart's desires and I'm being led towards them. But I'm waiting for it to be powerful enough to actually follow that urge or that itch. It's like, don't wait. Yeah. Don't wait, baby.
Powerful enough or safe enough, right? Like, let me get everything together to make it safe. And then you get to that point and you're like, whoa, like that point never really comes. At least I don't know of it coming. Yeah. Like everyone that I coach, everyone that I've worked with, every one of my friends who have gone on the same journey, at some point you got to jump off the ledge and build the airplane on the way down. Like you just have to do it. So yeah, I feel that. I resonate with that.
I love that. So another thing that you said inside of that last bit that you gave us is that a big reason that the job felt like something you should be happy with is because you felt stupid before that. You had this belief about self that like, you're not the smart kid. And now you're in this position that like only the smart kid could get. So of course I should say this. And like, almost it sounds as though that became a piece of like to validate a new identity or to take you further away from who you perceived yourself to be. So how did that feel, stepping out of that safe container where you were finally the smart kid and shedding that layer of identity to follow what your heart wanted you to follow?
Yeah, well, it was really difficult. And there's the other part too. And I see this is very common, I think, is my job was really easy, right? Like I was good at it, but I was working like 4 hours a day and making really good money. Yeah. But that's the trap of it. That's like the addiction, right? Because that's not what we're really made for. We're made to create impact and have impact and be connected and be in our zone of genius. And so that also made it hard. But yeah, shedding of the identity, I think a lot of that was created due to the family I grew up in. I grew up in a family where I have a lot of siblings. My parents were very poor. They were missionaries. And so when we moved back from Africa as a kid, like we didn't have we didn't have money. And so for me to even get this job and to be making over 6 figures, working with big companies, traveling around the world, living in London, it was a lot of these things of like, wow, what I have here is incredible. And so there was this belief I was running up against that if I leave this job, will I even get something like this again?
Mm-hmm.
And if I leave this job, will I be flat on my face? Like, will I have to, in a year and a half, will I have to move back in with my parents? And, you know, I've always been the dumb kid, that belief. So will I even be able to get something like this again? So there's a lot of pressure, and that pressure manifested in my heart in that time before I left. So yeah, it was breaking of an identity. It was saying that I'm gonna choose to go against the identity I've held for this opportunity of something maybe new.
Yeah. Okay, so for any of the listeners that know deep inside of themselves that they have an identity to break, because that's definitely been a story or a pattern for me, a great pattern for me that I've really taken on since I started my whole journey, is that I've shed so many layers of identity and stepped into new versions of self, and it has been incredibly painful every single time. How do you guide someone through that? Or how do you encourage someone to understand that shedding that layer of identity is actually safe for them and something that they can do?
Yeah. Well, I think the biggest thing that I find is that, you know, identity is so fluid, and people have to realize that the stories we hold are either the prisons we make or the freedom we create. And so, right, these stories of like, I'm not this or I'm not that, and it's really having to take a moment to test it. One of the things that I do now, and one of the things that I do with people I work with too, is like, okay, you're bad at X, right? And you need to spend an hour and write every time that you were good at it. And it's just so interesting to see how our reticular activation system just feeds us that same data of like, I'm bad at this thing. You know, my whole life I had another identity before I moved to Colombia. I'm really bad at dancing. And I moved there, I took dance classes, and I was really bad at dancing. And I remember the final day was my final class. I hit this like zone, and it changed. And then it was like, oh my gosh, I've actually just been fighting the story the whole time and not even the real reality of what's going on. And so I think writing out all the times that we have been good at that because we don't notice it. Creating the evidence and starting to combat that. So I call it a highlight reel. Something I love to do with the men I work with is actually like, okay, you're not good at all these things, right? So many of us are so great at knowing all the shit we're really bad at. Okay, give me your highlight reel. Give me the highlight reel of your life and all the epic things you've done. And when people actually create this, and they can do it in a particular area of their life, or they can create it for their whole life, but as they actually create that, it starts to change that belief of like, wow, I am actually powerful. Wow, I've actually done some really cool things. But every day I spend all my time thinking about all the things I'm not yet good at. So there's no way I can believe that, right? And it's about changing the frequency as we start to step into that and realize like, wow, I have done incredible things. You know, me, Kat, I've done these amazing things. I've done moves before that were scary, and so I can do this again. And really understanding that we are that powerful, and it's really about our mind and overcoming the story and the belief.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I loved what you said in that of you realized that it was never the reality of what was true, that you weren't a bad dancer, that it was the story that you were a bad dancer, because it's like the stories that we tell ourselves about our lives is the way that it's unfolding for us. And I can imagine. So when you were living with the indigenous tribe in the Amazon, I can imagine that was an opportunity to see the stories like full blast because you were in such a different environment than what you were used to. So what was that like being in a completely different environment and having those stories come to the surface?
Yeah. Well, it was incredible. Like the experience was incredible, but the story side of it, it's just that space to really realize when I was there, because it's really powerful what happens when we're not connected to technology all the time, when we're not connected to electricity all the time, when we actually have space and calm to be with ourselves, is we actually start to develop our relationship with ourselves and realize and see through the holes of like, hey, I've kind of been a tyrant with myself most of my life. And I use the word tyrant because it's intense, but that's how most people are. Like the way most people speak to themselves, they would never let someone speak to them like that. And yet we do it all day long. And so the Amazon journey for me was this journey of like, I'm here with a bunch of people that don't speak the same language as me. I'm living in the middle of the Amazon. Me and my buddy who went were the third and fourth Westerner to ever live with these people. They're hunter-gatherers. And so we had all this time throughout the day to be with ourselves. We had all this time connected to nature. And I just started to feel and understand who I was. I felt my own energy. I felt what it was like to be me. And my life before that, I was so busy trying to be around as many people as I could all the time to really avoid the quote unquote loneliness of being with myself. And so that allowed me to realize that like, yo, a lot of these stories I've been saying about myself are really uncool, really not serving me. And I'm in relationship with myself. And so I got to actually like this guy I'm with, because we might find a life partner, but the only person that we're with for our entire life is us. The only person we're really connected to is us. And if we're a tyrant with ourselves, we're one, not going to perform as well in our life. Two, we're not going to be as happy. And three, we're really going to cap what we can accomplish. And so it was powerful to have this space and this time to be with me. And I can say at 28 years old, whenever this was the first time I really got to know who I was and really meet me. And it was one of the most powerful times of my life, if not the most powerful time in my life, to actually build that relationship with myself.
Absolutely. So powerful and beautiful, because it's so counterintuitive to what Western culture teaches us. Just like you're saying, is like, prior to this experience, you were so busy, and keeping up that busyness, one, because society kind of teaches us is like, you got to hustle your ass off if you want to make something of yourself. And the only way you're going to be happy is if you make something of yourself. And two is like, to avoid that sense of loneliness that you were talking about, and coming to the position of understanding that slowing down and disconnecting from the noise, from the pressures of society, from the judgments, from the news, the media, all of the bullshit that we're constantly filled with, especially I'd say since the beginning of the pandemic, is like, we are constantly glued to everything, is when you found that connection with yourself, you really got to know yourself. You really started to understand what was creating that disconnect from fully loving yourself. And I think that that's something that I just really want to point out for the listeners, is that the things that we oftentimes are doing on a daily basis that we just deem as normal, hustling our asses off, constantly being connected to our phones, checking in with the media, all of these things are actually the things that are creating a disconnect from who we are and what is true for us. And when you give yourself permission to step away from those things, then you can actually create that space for you to get to know yourself and love yourself. Because through that, it's like, you manifest all of the things you actually want. That's the byproduct. Like, you getting in alignment with yourself is the byproduct of the money, the love, the other things in your life. So Alan, for you,
can I share something about that? I'm really excited.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. So I had a really interesting experience. I'll jump forward a little bit more in my story. I created a marketing agency, grew it. It was a really incredible journey. But in December, I decided to sell my company and to pursue again another heart's desire to do it all over again. And it was still the fear of jumping off the ledge. What am I doing? I'm selling this company that I loved and all of this, but it was being congruent with myself, right? The more we follow our heart, the more we follow ourselves, we build trust with ourselves. It's like a relationship. there's some part of me inside of me that's telling me to do things. And the more I follow it and listen to it, the more I trust it and build that healthy relationship. And so I did that. I sold the company. I'm living here in Brazil. I'm living right above the beach in this incredible place, and started dating a new girl. And like, I had this incredible experience that I wish someone would have talked about 5 years earlier. I'm making passive money. I'm living in this beautiful place. I have the ability to do whatever I want each day, and not need to work for the next year at minimum, maybe 2 years. And so I'm here, and it's like, it sounds really cool, right? Even as I'm saying this, it sounds ridiculous. But what I found after about 3 weeks is I was really bored. And I was really not excited about this life. And what I found is that, like, I was doing all the things. I was meditating, I was manifesting, I was doing gratitude, I was going to the gym, I was going to yoga classes, I was surfing. And what I realized in this moment is that, like, we're not made for that. Like, so many people, and maybe people listening to this, people who are interested in manifestation are interested in getting to a place of financial security where they don't have to work and they can just do whatever they want each day. And come month 2 of this experience for me, I started to get depressed. And the reason why is I realized that, like, we're made to create. We're made to give our gifts, to give our ability to the world, to actually be in flow. And I wasn't. And I realized I followed a lie even my second time when I created a business. And that lie was that, like, this lie of passive income. And I realized that, like, even making passively this month, 30K coming in, I'm making it passively doing nothing. I wasn't happy. And so what I found through this journey is that, like, true happiness is really about the fucking journey. And it's about doing what you love each day. And I know there's people probably listening who are wanting, like, let me make, $15,000 a month passively, and then I'll do what I love. But, like, it's truly about the journey, following your heart, doing what you love. It's so much more important than making the money passively. So I just want to bring that up because I think it's such an important thing to know when you're on the journey, and something I wish more people talked about before I arrived where I arrived here in Brazil in my life. So
yeah, so powerful. I had the chills when you said that the more that we're in congruence with ourselves and our desires, like, the more we trust ourselves.
Yeah.
Because it's so true. And that's, I can imagine for most people, the reason that they don't trust themselves or they are so unhappy is because they either, one, don't give themselves permission to listen to their desires, even though they know it's there, it's burning in the background. That little voice is like, hey, you want something different than this, you want more than this, but not giving ourselves permission to trust it, or allowing yourself to trust it, but then not fully believe in the fact that, like, you're worthy of it, or that that's something that can be your reality. Just like you said, it's like, okay, so creating this life where you're making 30K in passive income is like a dream to so many people. And to be in that position of, okay, this doesn't actually feel the way that I thought it's supposed to, because your genuine desire is to make that ripple, make that impact, and help others, it burns brighter than our desire for all of, like, the material, secure, quote unquote, secure things that society teaches us we should have.
For sure. Yeah, it was a really interesting moment, right? Because I realized that I had kind of followed another, like, one of the things I said when I was in my corporate job is I climbed the ladder, but it was on the wrong wall. And I've heard that before. And I said that, but I really felt that, like, I put in all this work and I got to the top where I thought there was going to be this amazing view, and I realized I was at the wrong building. And even when I created my first business, it was the same thing. And it was a business that I love, but it was a business more connected, like, this will bring me success and this will help other people, but is it really core to my heart? And as I stepped into this now, like even when I had the opportunity to create the last business, I knew the business I'm doing now, coaching men, working with men, was the business I should have been doing, but I was scared to do it. And so getting here and getting to this point and realizing that like, it's really not about that. It's really like, it's about the journey. It's about what you do each day. And if you love that or not, that is the real win at the end of each day. And like you brought up earlier around energy, if you're in this flow of doing the things you love each day, like that energy radiates, that energy attracts way more to you. That energy brings the right people, that energy brings money. Like this business I'm in now, I'm at like the place I was a year into my last business, and it's only been like 4 months of it. And so
Yeah.
just a testament to aligning with the heart, aligning with the desires, having the courage to step into that. And that really creates the frequency you want.
I love it. It's so true. So, question for you, for the listeners, is what if they're so disconnected from their heart that they don't know what that thing is? They are just like they're part of the matrix, and they are just accepting the matrix as like reality and what it's supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
How do they get closer to, or take, yeah, even just the first step to understanding what their heart's desires are?
Yeah, great question. The biggest thing is building that relationship and connection with yourself. And so, I had this experience in the Amazon, which was really powerful for me and helped me get clear on my path. But something I've done since then that's even been just as powerful, if not more powerful, is more time in silence and presence with myself. And so, something that I really encourage people to do is take a day where you just sit somewhere beautiful with no book, no journal, no phone, no nothing, and just sit there with yourself, ideally in nature, like an entire day, like 12 hours. The more we can do that, the first few hours are really just uncomfortable. We still have a lot in our mind and lots going on, but the more we can sit into that and do that more often, the more we can actually feel ourselves. It's not about thinking, it's about feeling. Like, what do I want? Who am I? Because our body is always communicating with us, right? It's when you meet someone for the first time and you kind of feel that in your stomach, like, oh, this person, I don't know about them. When you meet someone for the first time, you're like, wow, I love this person. Like, it radiates. That's your body communicating with you. And so that's one of the biggest things I've found in my journey, is just getting more time without distractions, without anyone else, sitting with myself, is the most powerful way to start to get more clarity on the path.
Amazing. And so another question that comes up for you on that, I can imagine, especially as a man, I think that there's a lot of like stigma around feeling your emotion and understanding your emotion and feeling safe with your emotion. How was that experience for you of sitting with that emotion, feeling the uncomfortable likeness of it, and learning to feel safe with it?
Yeah. Great question, because there's a reality that like all of us have difficulty really feeling our emotions deeply. And men, especially, whether it's biological or whether it's from society, I don't really care, but that exists. And so on this journey of me being able to connect with myself and feel my heart, because there was years when I didn't, something that's really helped is this idea of visualizing a pipe going up and down my body. And every time I feel something emotional, what I used to do is I would stuff more tissue paper down that pipe. I would block it. I wouldn't feel it. I would avoid it. I'd go out drinking with friends. I would smoke weed. I would eat junk food, whatever it was. But now, because I have that visual, the more I'm feeling things, it's really like not blocking the pipe, but understanding that if I sit with that emotion, I accept it in. I accept on the days that I'm depressed. It happens, right? I accept it. I feel it. I understand what's below it. The more that pipe starts to clean out. And when that pipe cleans out on my good days, they're incredible. Like the feelings I have in my body, the way I feel on these days, it's like if I could have described this myself years ago, I wouldn't have believed it. And some days I have where I feel like I'm on like MDMA. I feel like I'm on a drug, and it's just a normal day, but that comes through processing and feeling those emotions and starting to get more to that baseline. So, yeah, for me, it's been a process of sitting with things that are really uncomfortable and letting them come up that pipe, letting them rise to the surface, dealing with traumas, dealing with some of those things that I've had in my life that have been very difficult.
Absolutely. Such a beautiful way to put it, and a really good visualization of what that is like inside of us when we just keep pushing our shit further and further and further down. And the reason I ask specifically as a man and point that out, that at least in my experience, I see that men struggle with this a lot, is because most of my listeners are women and they have those men in their life, and wanting to create support for them to also clear that out, feel safe inside of their emotions, so that their men can walk closer to their desires as well. Because I find nothing more in this world more attractive than a man who is allowing himself to lead with his heart and follow his passions and follow his desires, as opposed to do what he thinks he has to do in order to be successful and provide and live this life that is kind of textbook and not actually fulfilling for him. So question for you on that is, for the ladies listening, how can we encourage our men to lead with their hearts and feel safe within their emotions and get to that place of trusting themselves?
Yes, I love this topic. I'm so glad you brought this up. And this has been a real big one for me this last year in creating a new relationship, and realizing what it means to be courageous in a relationship. And, the thing that I found is that the belief a lot of guys hold is that I can't be weak in front of my woman, my partner. And if I am, she'll leave me, or if I am, she'll be unattracted to me. And the ability to sit into truth in a relationship, sit into truth with like, I'm going to show you every part of me. Because here's the thing, and the women listening to this, they feel it. They know when their partner comes home and he's had a bad day, or they know when he feels insecure about himself. And the problem is most guys, they won't admit it. So there's a little bit of distrust that starts to develop. And there's also, for the guy, he doesn't get to feel the nurturing and the love that can exist, both from his partner and also from himself, by being real with where he's at. And so, for the ladies there, it's maybe helping their man realize that like him opening up and showing who he is, all of who he is actually the most courageous and attractive thing that he can do.
Oof, love it. And for the ladies as well, opposite way around, I know from my experience, and Alan, you can tell me from your perspective as well, is like the men also fucking love when you're in your heart's desires, in your passion, allowing yourself to be fully expressed inside of it. Like nothing sexier than two people who are following exactly what lights them up.
Ow! I love it.
Yeah, it's so juicy, so good.
I agree. Yeah, and yeah, for the ladies, like step into it, own it. Like you being in your power is super attractive, and you doing what you want to do, and being in your power means also being willing to be completely weak in moments too. And be emotional and bring that to him, but also be strong and fun and powerful when you want to be that as well. So it's like, there's something we talk about in my relationship, and it's like full truth. Like the other day I had a dream about my ex-girlfriend, and I woke up and immediately told my girlfriend about it, and it was uncomfortable, but it's full truth. And when you can step into that in a relationship, it allows for such beautiful freedom, because you're allowed to be you, and you can have a partner who can love you for exactly who you are, not the ambassador of you, not some version of you want them to see, but the more you can fully step into full truth, it's beautiful. And even to the point, I have a really good friend who, him and I talk about this all the time in our relationship. And his girlfriend one time said, "Hey, what are you thinking about right now?" they do this? Like, to just ask each other. And he said, well, I'm actually thinking about this time I had a threesome with 2 other girls. And she was like, wow, okay, I wasn't expecting that, but thank you for being real. And there's power in that, right? Because it takes away the insecurity in a way, because you know what's real. Everyone's going to share what's real, and you know what they say is real. So stepping into full truth, I think, is the best thing for life too, not just the relationship, right? Full truth means you're following your heart. Full truth means you're willing to go and do the thing that you want to do. You can't lie to yourself, and you can't lie to others.
Absolutely. I love that you took it there, because that's where my train of thought went as well, is like, that is the heart's desire. Like,
Yeah.
I am a firm believer in the fact that every single person on planet Earth, their heart's desire is to have that genuine, authentic human connection, not the guarded or protected, one-sided connection. And that in all of this conversation that we've had is like, heart's desire isn't just your passion or purpose or career path or any of those things. It's all areas of your life. It's all of the things that you want to allow yourself to be led towards and tap into. It doesn't just have to be career focused, because that's like, it's very much so, in my opinion, like a Western culture thing, is like career path, heart desire, passion, purpose. That means, how am I going to make money? And it's like, no, like, what does your heart want?
Yes. And here's the crazy thing. The more you do that in every area of life, the more you're going to have it in your career. And the more you do it in your career, the more you're going to have it in your relationship. And I felt this at the beginning stages of my relationship. I had this one like amazing moment with my girlfriend where we were really connecting, and I really opened up and I shared things in a very vulnerable way. I took a nap and I woke up, and my entire idea for my business changed, because I was connected deeply to love. And my business I created now has such a stronger foundation in love, because I was willing to step into that in my relationship more. And so the saying, how you do one thing is how you do everything. It's
Mm-hmm.
you can't be in your heart center in your relationship and then in your head center completely in your business, and vice versa, right? It's how do you want to show up in the world as a human? Do you want to show up real, truthful, honest, follow that heart, follow your desires? And if you do, it's going to be the thing that helps attract a beautiful relationship, helps attract a beautiful career and business and passion and mission for you too. So
Yeah.
how
Yeah. Y'all, that's how you win. That's how you
yeah.
win the game of life, is allowing yourself to follow those desires, that whatever it is, just
Mm-hmm.
allowing it, giving yourself permission for it, and taking some of that pressure away from it, or even just giving yourself, being courageous enough to sit with it and learn it and get to know it and own the fuck out of it.
Yeah. Can we talk about manifestation when it comes to relationships real quick?
Oh, for sure.
Okay. Okay. Um, you know, I've been traveling the world for the last 5 years, and I think for most people in general, like you said, we want a deep connection, we want a deep relationship. And for me, it was like I wasn't completely aligned in my heart center with what I was doing for work, but I was traveling the world and searching, meeting a lot of women and trying to find an amazing partner. And something that was really incredible was the moment I decided to sell my business, to move more into my heart center with what I wanted to do. It's actually the same moment that I really got clear on what I wanted out of a relationship. And so I was living in Medellin, Colombia, and things weren't working out for me. This is about 2 weeks after I made that decision. And my best friend, Kian, called me, and he was like, hey, you got to come down to Rio. You got to come see the city. It's amazing. And for whatever reason, my heart was feeling led to go there, but it didn't make sense. I arrived in Rio, and at this time in my life, I was really focused on like, hey, I want to find a partner. I want to find someone amazing in my life. I've definitely met some really incredible people traveling the world, but I haven't found that. And so I took a month of not really seeing anyone, just being with myself. Again, going back to what we talked about earlier. And this one morning I'm on the beach here in Rio, and I see this like incredible girl up on this rock. And I'm like, wow, I really feel like I'm supposed to talk with this girl. But at the time, I already told myself, like, hey, I'm not going to speak with anyone for this month. I'm just going to be with myself. And so I saw her. I'm like, I'm going to go talk to her, but no, I'm not. And she was in the middle of like a photo shoot, so I didn't say anything. And I went home that day, and I was about to hop on a business call. And a friend of mine shot me a text message that I met a week and a half ago and was like, hey, you should come to this breakfast place. And also there's these really cute girls next to us. You should come here and meet them. And I'm like, I have a business call in 10 minutes. I can't, blah, blah, blah. Send me a picture of them. And so this friend sent me a picture of the exact same girl I saw on the rock. And this is like 2 hours later. And so just to give you an idea of the chances of this, like there's 8 million people in this city.
Yeah.
And to have that happen, and my friend, just like, I felt this, and that's the person who, you know, I went on a date with this person. I said, get their contact information. I can't believe that's the girl I saw this morning. And I went on a date, and it was the most amazing and powerful date I've ever had. And it's my girlfriend now, but all that came from really getting clear with my heart. What do I want? And then looking for the signs, manifesting it, right? Sitting into, what do I want from this? Let me get clear, and let me operate out of my heart to go to Rio when it doesn't make sense. Let me operate out of my heart to do these things. And I really, truly believe in manifestation. I've seen it in my own life, from business to relationship, but it happens when we follow our desire.
Absolutely. I love that story. One, so good. And two is like, it's so true that the thing with manifestation is like, in my belief, everything in life is a manifestation. But manifestation gets really fucking easy when it is you tapping into your heart and allowing yourself to lead, even and especially when it doesn't make logical or practical sense.
100%.
Because the logic and the practicality, it's based on the past. It's gonna continue to drag the past into the present moment over and over again. And as soon as we give ourselves that permission to listen to, okay, this isn't logical, this isn't practical, but there is something deep inside of me right now that knows. Like there's something that knows, and just doing it. Like you said earlier on in the conversation, that's how you build that trust with yourself. And that's how you are led to like what's essentially divinely yours and what's supposed to be part of your path.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love what you said about it doesn't make sense. Like at the start of my journey, I went over it kind of quickly, but I was living in Colombia. I had no desire to go anywhere else, but like for whatever reason, I couldn't get an apartment. Like things were becoming oddly difficult where they've never been. And that's when I kind of put my hands up and I'm like, yo, universe, God, whoever, give me a sign of where I'm supposed to be, because I feel like you're closing all the doors here. And so I said that. And the next day, Kean called me the next afternoon and was like, I had no idea he was in Rio. He's like, you got to come down to Rio. It's amazing here. And again, I didn't listen because I'm like, oh, that doesn't make logical sense. I'm trying to sell my business right now. I'm not going to go to a place where they're in summertime. I'm not going to distract myself. And again, the signs kept showing me, and eventually I listened. And so it's that courage to follow the feathers before they become bricks. And if we can do that, life gets really, really amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. Even just like seeing that as a picture in your own life is like, would you rather be brushed by feathers that are bringing you to the place that you want, or would you rather have bricks thrown at you?
Yeah.
It's like, get the hell out of here.
For sure. For sure.
Oh, I love it. And it's like going back to what we were talking about at the very beginning. It's like, that's the piece of giving yourself the trust to shed those old layers.
Yeah.
Like each one of those steps in the journey, no matter if it's the business, the relationship, the connection with yourself, or friendships, adventure, whatever, it's like each one of those takes that bit of courage. And the more that you do it, the easier it gets.
Yes. Yes, 100%. And the more that trust is built, the more belief you have to go and do it, right? Yeah, I agree completely. It's beautiful.
Okay, amazing. Well, Alan, is there any last words of wisdom or things you want to share with our listeners?
Well, we covered a lot. I know we hopped around a lot. We covered a lot, but I think the biggest thing is just, especially because I know you're working with a lot of ladies, it's really just stepping into that trust, letting go of the fear. Something that I know, I have three older sisters, something I know about ladies too, especially as like there's a lot more to think about with career and wanting family and all of that ladies have to deal with, and really trust your heart, follow that path. Don't worry about any timeline. Just really follow that heart. That's one of the biggest things I would say. I think the right partner and the right career are there for you if you have that courage to do it.
So beautiful.
Follow it.
So true. Thank you. And for my ladies and any men and their men who are listening, where can they find you if they're wanting to connect with you, if anyone is wanting to work with you?
Yeah. If you want to connect with me, probably the best way is just on Instagram, Ahowy, Ahowy, and I think you'll probably have that in the show notes as well. But then my website too, if you want to see more of what I do, Alan L. Howard. So AlanLHoward.com is where I'm at there.
Awesome. I love it. Yeah, all of that will be in the show notes down below. And anyone who's listened to this, who has a man in their life who's ready to listen to his heart, send them Alan's way, because it sounds like not only would it be a massive gift to them, but also a massive gift to you if you are a lady listening to this show. So, Alan, thank you again so much for coming onto the show. I loved this conversation. Feel so energized now. About to go listen to my heart and do some exploring in New York City. So
Amazing.
thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Kat. Thank you for creating this space. It's beautiful, and thank you for bringing me on. And enjoy that time in New York. I love that you followed your heart to go and do it. So way to live it. Way to live what you're speaking about and preaching.
Oh my gosh. Thank you for listening to today's episode. I'm so grateful to have these no bullshit talks with you. If you enjoyed today's episode or the podcast as a whole, please spread the love by leaving me a review on iTunes or sharing the podcast with others. This is how I will be able to spread more of these good vibes and be able to make more of an impact on the lives of others. And if you're not already part of all of the goodness and communities that I have to offer, check out the show notes. I have links to the different ways that I can support you on your manifestation journey and help you live a life full of more money, fulfillment, and freedom. But that is all for now. So big love and hugs, and I will chat with you soon, babe.